Bent Larsen was born in 1935 in Denmark, and he came from a country that didn't really have much of a chess tradition, but that didn't stop him. He was made very rapid progress for the time, and by 1956 he had made his Grandmaster title. He did it at the age of 21, which today would make him an old man, but in those days made him the second youngest Grandmaster in the world after Boris Spassky. Larsen at that time was a world beater, and it looked like he would quickly become a candidate for the World Championship, but that didn't turn out to be, partly because he did his university studies, then he had to do his military commitment for Denmark. And it wasn't until 1964, when he was almost 30 years old, that he qualified for the candidates for the first time. But he did it for several decades, and he got progressively stronger and stronger. In 1967, he won 6 major international tournaments, which at the time was like not something that anybody had done since Akiba Rubinstein in 1912. And everything looked bright for him. There was just one problem, and that problem was Bobby Fischer. And as we all know, in 1971, Bobby Fischer defeated him 6-0. And a lesser man might have retired on the spot after that whipping, but Bent was the eternal optimist. He was a great fighter. He was a guy who, when once asked, would you prefer to win a game and lose a game, or to make 2 draws, said, I much prefer to win 1 game and lose 1 game. And Larsen continued to play successfully for several decades. But I think that his tradition, his reputation will live on much longer than just his chess playing. Larsen will be remembered for his writing. He was a really witty, really funny writer. And it's something he sort of did out of necessity, because in the days before Bobby Fischer became world champion, the prizes were very modest. For example, when he tied for first in the Interzonal in 1964, first prize was $400. Even with inflation, it'd be $4,000 for a month-long event, and you're taking first place. So there really wasn't much prize money. So a typical day for Larsen on the tournament routine would be to prepare for his game, play his game, analyze his game, and then he'd just run off to his hotel room, and you'd hear him like what sounded like a machine gun coming from his room. And it was him typing columns for newspapers and for magazines all around the world, and he was aided by the fact that he spoke over 6 languages fluently. So he was, I remember him from the Lone Pine tournaments. I remember when Yasser defeated him in 1979, and what a gracious loser he was. He was a guy who was full of life. He was always the life of the party. He could talk about pretty much every subject under the sun. Bent Larsen's a guy who will be long remembered.
First I'm inducting Grandmaster Bent Larsen. His plaque text reads, Bent Larsen is remembered as one of the strongest players of the 60s and 70s, second in the West behind only Bobby Fischer. A 4-time candidate for the World Championship, he won 3 Interzonals, a feat matched only by world chess champion Mikhail. Larsen was an original theorist far ahead of his time. His predilection for advancing the rook pawns was only given the seal of approval 50 years later by AlphaZero, the Google computer. One of the best writers in the history of chess, Larsen's 69 book has selected grounds, accepted games, broke new grounds, about his insights and the role of chess psychology. The opening 1B3 is named after him. So on behalf of the World Chess Hall of Fame, it's my honor to induct Grandmaster Bent Larsen.